Walt Disney like?
Oh, well, Walt Disney was the greatest storyteller of the last century. He was a remarkable, remarkable man. A warm, wonderful guy with a lot of reserve. He would never come out and say, great, wonderful, I love that. He would never do that. He would say, man, that'll work. That was Walt. He understated things. Behind your back, he'd say, they wrote the perfect song for this sequence, or they wrote so-and-so, but not to your face. An artist who would come up with some beautiful sketch, and you say, yeah, that'll work. And then my God, does she look beautiful in that gown? Oh, she's going to be great in that. That's the way he was. But when it came to storytelling, he was so mystifying. He was so mesmerizing. He sort of hypnotized you into jumping higher than you ever thought you could jump. He would just say, you can do this, and you can do it. And told stories, he became the characters, no matter what they were. It was a little stuffed teddy bear, if it was an ape, like we do in Jungle Book. All these things, he became those characters. And his face would change, and he would tell about how he felt, about how he should write something. He never wrote it, but he just pushed you in a certain direction. And usually, it was very easy for us. We could read him and then go and interpret what he wrote.
What were the cornerstones of his sort of storytelling? Were the stories that he kept returning to? Were there certain themes that interested him? Was he political? Was he, what was his thing? How would you sort of typify his interest?
That's a very good question. I never thought about that part of it. First of all, I don't think he was ever political. I think it had nothing to do with that. He loved He loved a good story. He loved characters. He loved situations that were different and fresh and exciting. And he had a gut feeling. He was like flying a plane with a seat in your pants, as they say. He had a gut feeling about what audiences would like. And he was rarely wrong. He was hitting the marks all the time. But I'd say his main thing was story. He was a story man. I think what Bob and I got along so well with Walt was the fact that we felt truly that although we were writing songs, we were writing music and lyrics, it was the story that was the most important ingredient. Those characters and that story and what it was all about, that's what you served. And so all the songs that we wrote served the story. We didn't like just to have a song.
So I'd say in some ways, so if we look at, say, Mary Poppins, right,
yes,
which we would probably, I'm sure many people here would agree with me, perhaps you grade, I don't know, maybe that's your best word, but it's certainly right up there with your grade.
Well, it was our big grade.
Big, yeah.
Yes.
Now, if you actually read the book, Mary Poppins, most of the narrative that we think of as we sit here isn't really in that book. But really, when you put the songs together, it's sort of in order as you guys wrote them, that's where the actual story came from, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, you almost wrote, it's almost immodest to say you wrote the score to Mary Poppins, because really, the narrative elements in those songs are so, I mean, tell us about that score.
You're very perceptive. You should be in business. It's very perceptive. It actually is true. The Mary Poppins books, God bless Mrs. Travers, she created a great character, and she wrote wonderful incidents. But there was no storyline in her books. There was not a through story with a moment of truth and a finish. It didn't have a curve, as they say. It was just wonderful experiences with this flying nanny who comes in from nowhere on the east wind and flies out on the west wind, and that was all it was. Bob and I were given this book by Walt after he'd written quite a number of songs for his projects. This was the turning point in our lives, because he gave us the book, and he said, read this and tell me what you think. He didn't say, I need a song for this character, or I need a title song for this project. He just said, read this book and tell me what you think. But we knew the writing was on the wall there. This was an opportunity. We felt, oh, Walt's testing us now. And so we read these books. They took place in the early 30s in England. That was a depression time in England. We said, that's a depressing time. Very little money, and who could believe this? Father, who was working in a bank in the middle of a depression, would have a nanny, and have a cook, and have an upstairs maid, and have a handyman, all these work in a depression. So let's put it back in a time when we had this wonderful vaudeville music of England. It's called the music hall style of music. And let's have the turn of the century. And it gave it color. It gave the costumes a color and everything. So we started with that. So let's put the stories back then. Now let's get a story. So we took 5 or 6 of the chapters in the first book, and we wove them together with a storyline. And we said, if we played Walt some of these ideas song-wise that show this color of this period, and we have this through line, we could say, the reason why we did this is because there's no story here. He knew this, but we didn't know that he knew that he knew. But in fact, we came and we said we want a half an hour of Walt's time to his secretary. I remember that this was a very bold request, and because he was very fast, 10 minutes and you're out. But with Walt, we said we've got to have half hour. We have so many things to talk about. So she put us in at 11:30. I remember, and we came in at 11:30 to see Walt Disney. And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he'd set out the sandwiches and everything. He was as enthusiastic as we were about what we were talking about. And at the end of that time, he said, that bird lady thing, could you play that thing again? So I played Feed the Birds for him.
Can you play that one?
Oh, sure, but I'll finish.
We want to be sure we don't forget that.
Yeah. It's a key moment. It really, truly is a key moment. Because he said that this bird lady thing, play it again. So I played it again for him. And he listened to it carefully and he said, that's the key to the whole story, isn't it? He said, that's right, Walt, that's what it is. He said, how do you guys like to work here? You think story, I like that. And we said, we'd love to work with you, of course you would. So he said, well, I have a contract for you. He had a contract already. And so then we became, for the rest of our lives, Disney people. I mean, that's our story of our life. But the song that got to him, and my favorite, it truly is my favorite. Early each day to the steps of St. Paul's, the little old bird woman comes. In her own special way, to the people she calls, come buy my bags full of crumbs. Come feed the little birds, show them you care, and you'll be glad if you do. Their young ones are hungry, their nests are so bare, all it takes is tuppence from you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries, while overhead her birds fill the skies. All around the cathedral the saints and apostles look down as she sells her wares. Although you can't see it, you know they are smiling.